And Holly, if you'd call roll, please.
Chairman Mayhood.
Here.
Mr. Uthi.
Here.
Mr. Grote.
Oh, here.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Nestro. Here. And Vice Chair McCumsky.
Here.
Oh, Mr. Miller. Sorry.
Now, don't push him out yet. Okay, thanks. Everyone's here. Thanks. So let's stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. First item is a privilege of the floor. If there's anything anyone would like to mention at this point. Yeah, push your mic on and go ahead, Carol.
I have actually a couple of questions. I don't know if I should do it now or at the end of the meeting. Well, one, Birch had told me that I had an assignment. I was trying to get some younger members to, I know that we still need an alternate.
Right.
And what is the age that somebody has to be? Is it 21 or? I know it's
18,
probably in here,
believe.
but
Yeah,
18? Okay.
Actually, there may not be an age.
That's for a town councilman is 18. I don't know about a planning board member.
So if you get any 12-year-olds?
No, there's a 23-year-old and a 17-year-old that would have interest, but they're both starting courses at Finger Lakes Community College this fall. So the timing may not be right for them, but they may have interest and they would be terrific. One of them would be terrific.
The time,
There's,
it's what, Tuesday or Mondays?
Mm-hmm.
our meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's An hour at the most.
I know.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to them a little bit more.
Yeah,
just to see.
there's a section in our code specifically describing the planning board. There may be an age.
Yeah, I meant to look at it and I was running, so I
Okay.
didn't get a chance to.
So you're right, we were looking for an alternate, but Paul has told us that he's leaving us in August is gonna be his last meeting. So he's gonna become a snowbird,
Oh,
and so we'll have two openings basically, and I'd be reluctant to turn anyone away that had interest.
okay. Okay.
You know, seriously, I don't know if there's an age limit for planning board members or not. So
I can check it out here too.
18, it's gotta be-
18 is for town board, town council,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. And then my other question was,
Yeah.
this is why I forgot my other notes because I was running around. When we moved to Canadice 31 years ago, we got this welcome to Canadice thing. Do we still do this? Oh, we don't. It was so nice. When we got to our house, there was this nice pamphlet. And yeah, saved it. And they gave, like a map of Canadice and they said where the town hall was. And some of the old Canadice Chronicles they added. And I don't know if this was in it as well, but I found this. The old comprehensive plan, Town of Canadice Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 1.
What date is it?
This was 1993 when we
Oh,
moved
that
here.
That was in the welcome.
That I'm not remembering. I know that the other items were, but I had these all together. I was kind of going through stuff. But anyway, this was so nice. And I don't know who does this for the town, but just would like to mention it that we appreciated it when we got here. And they put a directory in there and the different services.
I received a packet like that when I moved here in 2000.
Yeah.
but, I think Bonnie Drake, town clerk at the time, did it. I'm not certain.
Okay.
I don't remember receiving one.
Really? When did you move here?
No, you didn't get one.
1990.
You've been here your whole life, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
get one.
Oh, when you came back, you didn't get one.
And he's even got a road name.
Yeah.
So he didn't get one.
Okay.
So I didn't know if that was planning board information, but I just wanted to ask, figured somebody here would know if we're still doing it or not.
I
It
believe-
was a very nice
I
gesture.
don't know that they're doing it
Yeah.
anymore. Did you get one?
I did not get one. I was 2016 and I did not get one. But
2016.
I love that idea. I think that as we're working through the comprehensive planning process, we're really identifying a lot of potential strategies for better communication. So I'll definitely
Yeah.
keep that
I
in
think that's a
mind.
wonderful idea.
It really is.
Yeah.
It was nice, yeah, to get that and to learn about the town and the services that we have and
Yeah.
where the town hall is, just things like that, really pretty. I mean, you could, I'm glad to lend it to you if you want to take a look at it, Caitlin, or
I
bring
don't
it.
wanna lose it right now. It's
Okay.
the summer, maybe.
No, it's looking so old and frail. It's like 41 years, no, 31 years old,
I
so,
would enjoy looking at it, but I don't want to take it right now.
okay.
But thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for bringing that and sharing that.
Might be something the historian would put together.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, story, town clerk.
I don't know about the town
No,
clerk.
it's not.
We could approach, you could approach her, you could approach her on this.
Sure will.
Okay. Great items, Caroline, thanks. So I'll look up and see if I can find anything on the age for planning board members. Anything else? Okay, we'll move to approval of the minutes from the June meeting. Holly, although she wasn't here, did an excellent job on them. Did them in the Zoom meeting, that was great. Any corrections? Changes? All right, I have a motion to approve.
I so move.
Dwight, is there a second? Caitlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, good job, Holly, thank
Yeah, I
you.
liked how you included some of that things that came up in.
Yeah. Okay, town board meeting. Town board met on July 8th. First thing they did, they had to go into as a Board of Health, because they had a variance application for a septic placement on 5856 Ross Road. Pretty standard thing. Bill Grove, the engineer that does most of these septic designs, was available on Zoom, described what it was. Again, the major thing was a setback. I don't recall if it was from a property line or a road, but it was a setback issue. The Board of Health granted the variance, and that was all there was to it, so. They went back as the town board. They held a couple of public hearings. One was to adopt a law overriding the tax levy limit for fiscal year 2025. They do this every year. So that they're not bound, the town is not bound to stay with the limit for the tax increase for the next year. They do it as a precaution. I don't know that they've ever actually used it. Apparently the state sets a limit, but you can decide to override it as an individual town. Obviously, if you did, you'd have to have some justification, but so that's pretty much a standard procedure. And so they did that. No one spoke at the public hearing, and so they had a resolution to approve that. Other things, reports, is pretty quiet night. Not much from the town clerk, code enforcement officer. Honey Lake Watershed Task Force reported the lake temperature was 79 degrees. I don't know where he takes the temperature, but he said he had done it that morning. Must be right at the surface of the water. Because my pond is about 82 at the surface, but 2 feet down it's 68. So I don't know where he measures it, but 79 is pretty warm for a lake. The lake level was running 5 inches higher than average at this time of the year. And there were no new blue-green algae reports. Other than that, there really weren't any other interesting reports. Old business. Jersey Hill reconstruction engineering study, the contract, they awarded the contract and they're working on that. They had a resolution to go with a new propane supplier, NOCO. But they had a question about ownership of the tank. And the So they didn't result, they didn't approve it because they weren't sure. You know, that there's a tank, underground tank that's owned by Superior here. And they didn't know if they could buy the tank or if they have to, what they would have to do if they went to NOCO. So they did not pass that resolution.
Do you know what the price was this year?
We don't know. They didn't tell us what it was. I got the reduced price from Superior, even though, you know,
When you think if you bought the tank that it's yours now. and-
well, but that's it. The town does, the town, there are two tanks, one at the town hall and underground and one over at the town
Actually,
shed.
and three, the
It's-
water. The pumping.
Oh, that's right. There's a third one now with the pump, but
Oh,
there's a buried one here. There's an above ground one at the town shed, and there's an above one at the pumping station where you come into town. And they had a mixture of suppliers, and so it got a little confusing to me what was, so they were gonna look into it and clarify. What, you know, if they change suppliers from Superior. What would be the cost? They're gonna have to dig up that tank and replace it, or they purchase it.
Above ground, didn't call it.
Purchase it or just leave it there and put one above ground. So they're gonna look into it. And they really hadn't considered the one at the pumping station either in their discussion. So they put everything on hold there to come up with a contract to serve all three. And I'm sure it'll be at the same price, you know, all these propane places pretty much give people the same price if you ask. Not unless you ask though. So they talked about that quite a bit. Didn't resolve anything. New business, let's see, sympathy, no, Stanley Proctor passed away about 3 weeks ago, if you knew Stanley. He and his family been long time residents. They appointed Birch Craig as the Canadice rep to the Ontario County Planning Board. And with the understanding, you know, Birch is not gonna be, it's not gonna be another 20-year thing like Steve Grow, but he's kind of stepping in to fill a gap and hopefully we can get someone.
So
There's-
does that, can I ask,
Sure.
are they still periodically throwing it out there via advertisements?
It's on the website.
Oh,
That's
okay.
about the only advertisement.
Okay.
She did,
At least
Linda
it's,
Phillip put an advertisement in the Messenger,
Oh.
Penny Saver and
okay,
a
Yeah.
third one.
I'm gonna ask him to take it down, cause I'll do it for a year. I wanna do it for a year or two. I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, we can take that
Oh.
down then.
yeah.
okay.
Your battery's died.
Okay.
And that was approved by the County Planning and Environmental Quality Committee today.
It was good.
So it'll go to the Board of Supervisors.
So they didn't do it back.
And they seem to think you're gonna stay for a long
And
time.
then
Oh,
we'll,
really?
There were a couple jokes made about it, that
Oh,
you thought it was temporary, but they weren't gonna let you go that easy.
oh, well.
and then does that, what did they refer that then to the board?
To the what?
I think it does need full Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, I know
Some
they issue it.
resolutions just need to go through committee and some have to go to the full board. I'm not sure. about
Yeah,
that.
I was wondering about the timing.
Yeah, I think most of those appointments do need full board approval.
No, I know they do. Yeah, I just wondered about the timing.
I
I think it's going to get done before the.
Yeah.
August,
That's what
before the
you
August,
thought last
August.
month.
because,
first is the next Board of
Right. Oh, okay.
Supervisors meeting.
Oh, great.
and the
It'd be the
county
second,
planning is the
second
Second
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
whatever that is.
So again, we thank you, Birch, for
Great.
stepping into that.
Yeah,
very much.
absolutely.
Budget workshop, budget planning time for 2025. The workshop is gonna be September 24th. Tuesday, I believe, right here at 7 PM. If you wanna come to that, you're welcome. And they're changing the time for the town board meetings.
Oh, they are.
They're going from 7:30 start time to 7 start.
You know, come on, yeah,
I guess,
best thing we ever did, I think.
it was good that we changed it. Again, and they talked about why were they at 7:30, and it goes back, some guys worked and they couldn't get down here. get cleaned up. Time to make the 7 o'clock, but those guys are no longer on the board and everybody was very happy. So Eileen is gonna post it, has already posted it. So there's gonna still be the second Monday of the month, but they'll be starting at 7, instead of 7:30. And they did change the September town board meeting from September 9th to Wednesday, September 4th. I didn't write down why, but there was some reason they were gonna do that. So if you're planning on the town board meeting, it'll be Wednesday, September 4th. That's 2 months from now. Privilege of the floor or weed harvesting has started July 1st, doing a fine job according to this. And that's all I had. Any questions? Got the town board? Okay. That's it. County Planning Board.
Well, I attended the last meeting on July 10th. Just kind of, but I really only have one other referrals I thought was kind of an FYI, and I mentioned it to Caitlin because of its location being basically right across from the county landfill. Caitlin was aware of it. It's it came before the board as a first presented as an area variance. This is on a project, 2 parcels, and right on the access frontage is on 5 and 20, again, right across from the county landfill. 2 parcels totaling 10 acres. And they're constructing what they call an RNG, a renewable natural gas manufacturing facility. And what this is, they have several farms within a 6-mile radius. And this isn't the first one, there's been several others within the state, but we had one of the guys, big farmer in the area, he was there and spoke about it and identified all the benefits for not only he, but the other surrounding farms. And again, they have several that are participating in this. And they will build these different digestive tanks on the property and all the other infrastructure that they will need. And what this is, the gas that they would collect from the manure that they collect from the surrounding farms, and these are big dairy farms. And I'll just read some of this verbatim because it's easier. The gas that they collect is sold to NYSEG. And then they sell carbon credits to obligated private parties, and the benefits to the municipality, county include farms retain manure and nutrients for the land while receiving payment for natural gas produced. More greenhouse gas emissions are reduced and captured. And there's an employment opportunity also for the trucking, those in the facility, processing facility, and the construction of the project. So and they had the representative who was in charge of the project. He gave a nice, actually, you would find this interesting, Bruce. Sometimes when you get these referrals and these experts come in and give their background on it, it's really good. So I said that they were very excited about this. The members were Linda Phillips. It's a good thing.
So it's a private company that operates
Yeah.
it, not a public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the farmers have an interest in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can only, let's face it, you can only spread so much. And that's what very labor intensive, obviously, and
Right.
it costs them bucks to disperse it on their properties, or you gotta truck it, pump it, and they have to maintain these huge, they call them lagoons.
Yeah,
That they have. Yeah, so like I said, it's a good thing.
what's the time frame they're looking at to do this? And complete it?
This is, yeah, once they get some of the other approvals here.
I mean, how long is like construction time?
I don't know, Ted.
Okay.
I didn't ask on that.
Okay.
I don't think they've gotten DEC approval yet either, so that'll be a lengthy process before they even start. construction.
And there are others of these kinds of facilities operating around here already?
Not in Ontario County.
Right.
This will be the
Yeah,
first in the
that's
county.
right. But
One of the
within the
first in the
state,
state, I think.
One at first in the state?
yeah, yeah. And then Tom Harvey was there, and so he started off the meeting, and I was like, oh geez, what's he gonna talk about? And so he starts going over the minutes from the Ontario County Board of Supervisors back from 2014, and some of the things that they approved at that time. And geez, what is he talking about this for? Then all of a sudden he mentions my name because it's the first time that I came up. And I'll just, yeah, so I think it was nice, Tom. He spoke, and it was just a nice little send off, and I really appreciate that from Tom. And then he said he did some research and he looked back at past previous representatives. And the planning board was created in 1966 via state law that created county planning boards. And he gave a list of the participants from then. I just thought perhaps you might know some of these, and I just thought, well, it's kind of an interesting thing. The first individual that served, he was the first rep from 1966 to 69, a fellow by the name of Ray McDonald. I would think if anyone knows these names, probably
Familiar
Dwight.
with his name.
Yeah, again, that's back in 66 to 69. Then Truman Becker of the Becker Farms here. Now, he was a deputy sheriff, and he was the one that got killed in the line of duty. I believe it was back in the 80s. He served from 69 to 81. Then we had a fellow by the name of Wayne Walter. Do you remember that? Do you? Okay. And he served from 81, but he couldn't identify until when, so it was unknown. Then a Horace Hart.
Oh.
You might know some of these too, Paul. You've been
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, Horace Hart. He was from 84 to 90.
For the old guys.
Well, Dwight didn't know him then. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
He was a customer.
And then the position was vacant in 90 and 91. That's because they didn't have people like Birch just step up here and fill the slot. Then a fellow by the name of William Doyle from 92 to 95. Then Butch Drake, our former chairperson. He served from 95 to 2002. And then Al Titus stepped in for 2 years, 2002 to 4. And then I jumped in after Al vacated. I think Al kind of vacated that and the plan. He used to sit right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he vacated both positions about the same time. He was quite busy in things of the town and always working on something. And yeah, so I just thought there'd be a little memorabilia here.
Interesting. So there was only one short gap where there was no representative.
Yes, 90 to 91. Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But again, I appreciated Tom showing up. I thanked him. You've already been on the clock basically for 10 hours that day, and he hung around to give me a little send off. That was very nice of him.
Nice.
So that's all I have. And again, I mentioned Birch and you know, the getting the resolutions and that, and Linda apparently has made some calls. She's been following up on this, and very appreciative of Birch coming on board and looking forward to him starting. So, and the guy, I think you'll like it, Birch. Give it a try. If not, obviously you can always leave.
You failed to mention, though,
I knew this was coming.
that I need 6 hours of training,
What? Well, you're a little
of which
You're a
this
little wrong.
training
It's-
counts, but
starting out. It's 8. After
Was
like
it
2
8?
years, it
Yeah.
drops down to 6. So
right.
perhaps by the time you leave, okay, you'll leave with it. You only need 6. Okay.
But sometimes they do training right at your meetings.
Yes.
They'll do like
But they
45-minute
It
training.
also, they don't enforce it.
No, they do. Like last year, I picked up like 4 hours. Like what?
No, I said they don't enforce the.
Oh, the force of training. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you didn't tell me about.
I
it.
did hear. No, I did hear one year that letters were sent out to the supervisors I did hear that. Cause some of the members mentioned that,
Really?
geez, yeah, the supervisor got a letter that I didn't make training.
But
But again, you know, as far as I'm booting you, because we can't find anybody that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, we'll forgive you. You'll get a pass, so, you know. It's a guideline, right? A guideline. So again, it's been interesting, but it's just, as I said before, it's time to move on.
the town board actually voted on a written resolution of appreciation, so they should be sending you something
Oh, nice.
also for your time served. All right, thanks, Steve. Any questions or comments for Steve? All right, zoning board, no meeting, at least no record of any meeting, so. Code enforcement, you have his report. They mentioned that he had put together a listing of all of the properties in town that have permits, and I got a copy of it if anybody's interested in it. With 39 as of what date this was.
So those are active.
These are active permits. So anybody wants, it has the owner's address, not always the property address, but the owner of the short-term permit. If anybody wants a copy.
Oh, that's for short-term rental?
Yeah.
Oh,
For
okay.
short-term rentals. He gives us a
Yeah.
report here, but this is the
How
actual,
many are there?
he says 39 down here.
Wow.
That's 20, that's 22, 23, and year-to-date 24. But again, it's not necessarily the rental property itself, it's the owner of the short-term permit. So if anybody wants a copy. Other than that, any other questions? Talk to Joe Miller directly.
Some towns are putting a licensing fee on it. It could be a revenue producer.
Yeah, well, there's a whole discussion in New York State about taxing. And then towns could put an additional charge. So, there's also a movement to ban short-term rentals in
In
certain
some
areas,
areas.
certain areas of the state. But our system seems to be working okay. He said he's received a couple of complaints from neighbors over the past, but nothing significant, so. I guess he and Rich are staying on top of that pretty closely, the two CEOs we have. Comprehensive plan, anything for us?
We met July 11th. Our survey, all the questions are finalized. We did get the survey platform up and running. I did send out an email to everybody on the team with a test survey, so we can just make sure that the platform has the functionality that we want. So I expect to get that all finalized by our August 8th meeting, and I'm hoping that our postcards will go out mid-August to let everyone know the survey's open. We have started the planning process for some public information meetings. Those are still in the early stages.
Great. Okay. Any questions? Caitlin? That sounds great. Sounds good
Wow.
progress.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Old business, we're still waiting for this final survey map for the Clark subdivision. Yes, 6 months from the date that we gave him approval to file that subdivision. That final survey map. If he doesn't, it becomes void. Unless he petitions us for an extension. But given 6 months, I'm not sure I'd be willing to give him an extension myself.
What
So
was the original date?
so he's 3 months. It was April, May, June, July. So he's got.
Where was the property on this again? The Clark one?
It's the two properties down on County Road 37 where one building was built over the property line. And so
Oh, okay.
he redrew those funny shaped line
Oh.
lots. and got a variance from the zoning board, and we approved the subdivision in April.
And it's been working on the houses.
Well, he was working on it before he
Yeah.
got the approval, yeah.
but
He
it's
was all
coming.
gung ho and he had asked, followed up about a surveyor and some questions about what needed to show up. I answered all of those, but I haven't heard from him lately, so.
Probably once they gave him a price, he said, I don't wanna expend it right now. No,
I'm not sure.
surveying is expensive.
He's a real estate developer and trying to turn these properties over, so
Hmm,
I would think he would get it in.
okay,
That's the only old business. Everything else is up to date. The other thing that's out there is we are expecting a site plan application from the Ewings, Mr. and Mrs. Ewing, they're on the lake. They own 2 adjacent properties. They want to build one large home. They have to have a water line relocation, so they just got all the legal approvals to do that. And they're gonna wait until all that gets done before they come to us with a site plan application. Because there don't seem to be any roadblocks, to just be the final check to make sure that they do meet all of the setbacks and the site plan requirements, but. So that's, I expected them to be applying this month, but we didn't hear anything, so it'll be coming. We do have new business, so, we mentioned last month that the town board had asked us to look into a possible revision of our town code chapter 82 on sewers. And so Birch stepped up to look at it and he said he's got something, so. Thank you.
I didn't make an extra for the secretary. So it was all. The setback is now 80 feet and. The history of it is back, the law was adopted in February of 2001, the current code chapter. But there was a public hearing, which Eileen dug it up for me, and it's kind of interesting because there was a whole discussion. And apparently there was some type of planning board involvement and research group. There's a lot of people actually for a public meeting. I couldn't believe the amount of comments, but subsequently it was decided to leave it at 80 feet and that's that. I did talk to Joe Miller and ask him his opinion of it and whatnot. And as I kind of outlined here, he said the state code, which is right here, it's 29 pages if anyone wants to read it, is very thorough. Any of the engineers that do the design of the systems have to be they have to do extra training for that. And then the new technology, there's a lot of new technology out. So he thought just follow the state code he's very comfortable with that. And I looked up what other towns are doing, and Richmond, Bristol, South Bristol, Naples, and West Bloomfield all have. They mentioned the state, it's basically the state code. So whatever the town board wants to do, but my recommendation, or could be our recommendation, is to just cut and paste from one of the other towns and make that their code.
So the primary differences are just what, road setback or side setbacks?
There's a whole number of setbacks. I mean, if you look at, there's tables that tell you
Right,
all the different, it depends on soil absorption, the type of system you put in, and then setbacks from the road, wells.
that's what I was asking, the setback from the road, we currently have 80 feet. and
I think it
says-
can be like it's,
Are there other
15,
setback
20.
differences other than just the
Yes.
road?
Oh, yeah.
So side setbacks, et cetera,
and wells.
and wells,
What's the setback on the well?
You have to read it here.
oh, there's a table. in
I
there,
didn't
sorry.
print out a copy of this, other than one copy.
Okay.
So, I mean, we might as well just follow, everyone else does it, we might as well just follow the same.
And that will eliminate most of these variance requests that we,
It would eliminate all of them.
all of them.
Well, unless there's some special
But
circumstance,
the run-of-the-mill ones that we're getting, they're
Right.
getting every month.
but they have to be done by a licensed engineer. And that engineer or a licensed person, engineer, architect could do it,
Right,
but they have to have training in septic system
to get that license.
to be able
Okay.
to do this.
In answer to Dwight's question, so there's a lot of different components to every system, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different components varying from the distribution box, the absorption field, intermittent sand filter. They all have different setbacks from the well, ranging from, in general, 50 to 150 feet, depending on the component.
Cause it's the whole technology is different than 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
And then for each of those components, there's a setback from the well, from the stream, lake, watercourse, or wetland, from the dwelling, and from the property line. They're all 10 feet from the property line, 10 to 20 feet from the dwelling. And it looks like the well and stream, lake, watercourse are fairly similar, varying from 50 to 150 feet. It's not in yours.
It's not in, I didn't,
It's only
This
in
is
this
the New
one.
York State that he's proposing that we adopt.
here, these are the regulations. You know, yeah.
What was the number from the road? You said?
It varies.
Just 10.
It depends on the system that you're putting in.
That was from the septic. Oh, same.
Oh, what I was,
Well, you can't, when you say septic system,
Yeah,
there's a number of different designs. Depending what the engineer is finding with the soils. And where the house is, where the well is, you know. So there's a lot of different, and some of these systems are all self-contained, they just put them in, other ones. You know, they put a sand filter in, a leach field is different, I mean, it's all. You have to be an engineer to know what it is, so when you say septic system, as we would think of it, 30 years ago, it's like a box and then distribution for the water, so, and you pump it out every X number of years. Or even, I was reading, some of them are really old, I know we have a neighbor down in Springwater where he walks there's someone that has a system that's probably 40 or 50 years old, and it's leaking into the drainage ditch. And so the neighbor is not too happy about it. So it's all different.
so if someone was going to put a system in next to your property line, you'd be comfortable with using those setbacks.
Yeah.
That are listed in the New York State law.
Yeah.
Because it's broken down to not just.
It's not
property line
a,
To distribution
Right.
box, it's to the house as well, it considers those things.
and it's considered the design of the system too.
What is the major problem with all the people going to zoning board for variance?
Well, because our regulation says you have to be 80 feet from the
Right.
property
See
line
that,
Or the road.
or the road.
Property line.
100 feet from a water course. Well, that's what
Right.
it says here,
Right.
right?
And so it's typically the road or property line, but once in a while it is a water course that they're asking for variance.
It's
It's
a variance.
typically just a road or a side setback
Okay,
is what they're asking for variances.
and some of this is like 10 feet, only 10 feet of the state.
Right,
that's from the property lines. The water course is very similar to ours.
yeah,
And
So,
the town
Right.
can always set standards, the code standards can be more strict than New York State, but they can never be less strict.
Right.
So we could never say, oh, we want to do it 50.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it is a state one, but I see tenant.
well, I'm saying we couldn't because the state says it's 100. We couldn't
Oh.
say, oh, we want to do it 50 because that's less
We can,
strict.
yeah, we could be more restrictive, but we can't be less.
And that's our situation for relevant property lines and roads. We're much more restrictive than the state.
Yeah, you'd be.
So basically, we would be relaxing that, reducing the setback requirements, but never less than the state.
We would just
What you're saying is,
adopt
Are
the
greater
state.
than the
with the
state.
zoning board, they're just going with the New York State.
They're going with what Bill Grove tells them, what the engineer.
The town
They,
board.
they don't have the zoning board people here. It's not the zoning board, it's the Board of Health, which is the town board. So the town
Because-
board, they adjourn as town board and they meet as the Canadice Board of Health.
Board of Health.
They consider the variance.
Yeah.
They ask, Bill, okay, everything okay? And he says, yeah, everything works good. And so they say, okay.
And
let's-
part of this
let's
is
approve the
because
variance.
Ontario County does not have a Board of Health. If we were in Monroe County, you would apply and get permits from the Board of Health of Monroe County for your septic.
Wouldn't go through the town.
No,
Okay.
I mean, you may still need a building permit, but
But, yeah.
the town Board of Health or the county Board of Health would have to approve it.
Livingston County is the same way.
Livingston
Livingston is,
has a Board of Health.
So, Bridge, what is your recommendation?
Bottom paragraph.
to adopt
Very good.
the New York State, what is it, appendix 15 or
To
whatever?
adopt the state
To
code.
adopt the state code.
Just take whatever Bristol or whatever their code is and plunk it into ours.
Yep.
Don't go through.
Any concerns about that? You want more detail or?
So prior to 2000, when they had this meeting, what were the setbacks? I'm kind of confused.
I didn't go back that far.
Yeah,
Well, because they.
What I did was Eileen, we took the date. Section 92 in the code.
Yes.
book Says that was adopted in February 12th, 2001. If you look at the front page. Of 92.
by the way, it's chapter 92, not 82.
Oh, okay.
I had a
Yeah,
typo on that, so it's chapter 92.
So if you look at the front
Well-
page of 92, it tells you that when it was adopted. So we went to the. When that was discussed. What happened before that, I have no idea. Other
Yeah.
than you can read through the comments, maybe it's in there.
It's very confusing because they
What's
talk about
confusing?
they met to amend the setbacks, and then there's a statement somewhere says that the setbacks weren't changed.
So it was probably, I think it was it's been 80 feet for a long, before this,
Yeah,
from reading of the minute.
They maintained, then they didn't change and they
They didn't
maintained
change it,
the
they
80.
talked about changing it.
It's a little. Not very clear when you, just reading it quick
Well,
here.
Right, if you read a little farther on,
Wow.
you'll see, like
Okay.
in the January, if you look on the back page. The supervisor suggests leaving the setbacks at 80 feet and let the zoning process. Address this
Oh.
issue and changing the term tile fields to leach fields,
Okay,
that's.
because there used to be tiles.
I didn't get to the back page yet. Oh.
So
Okay.
Go ahead, Caroline.
the only other question is, so if somebody asks for a variance, then would they have to kind of have somebody take a look at what kind of what kind of septic system they had because of the different components that each septic system has? They would have to then have somebody say, oh, you have this kind of septic system, so you would only need to be this far away from this component. They would have to prove that, they would have to.
Well, if we adopt the state like the other towns do. The engineer would design it, they wouldn't need a variance. Because if they were that confined in space, they would probably have to have a system that might have to get pumped out every. so
Aerobic
often,
system or
Or
something.
aerobic system, so there's no. Like now, they come for a variance or they ask the town Board of Health for a variance. But there would be no need for that.
But they're still asking and required to have an engineered system. So all of the responsibility is on the engineer who's designing that. And so if the engineer submits that and says, yes, it's compliant, there's no need, they can just go to the
And
building code and get.
From a technical point of view, if 15 or
Permit.
20 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago down the road, and there's a problem with the design, that engineer is responsible, just like an architect is responsible for a building or a bridge. Even after you die as an architect, you're responsible.
And the state code has specifics for these engineers, like there's certain trainings that they need to go through. They get certified by the state, I believe. There's like continuing education credits. So the state code also has very strict, like who these engineers are. It's not just somebody's like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna start designing.
And what
septic
we have
systems.
is 30, 40 years old.
And that's what I was gonna say too, it's by having language in our code that refers to the state code. Then if the state code stays up to date, then we're not always having to go back to our code and be like, oh, has the technology changed? Do you know what I mean? Because that's sort of what we're running into now, like this code is
Right.
almost 25 years old. Technology has changed.
So
So-
basically, chapter 92 will be eliminated. Sewer.
No, it
No,
won't
the
be
language will
eliminated,
just
but
be
it's
changed.
basically a cut and paste. I believe if you look at Bristol's
Yeah.
town code, it says for the septic on-site water wastewater treatment, we refer to New York State
So it's all
Appendix
got it.
75A.
Already.
And that way, as Caitlin says, we don't have to, if the state changes that code, we don't have to update the local because we're just reflecting whatever the state is at that point in time.
And our code enforcement officer will be up to date
Well,
with,
he still has to
Yeah.
give permits.
yes, and he'll,
He has to issue the permit.
and he'll know if there's been changes and
Okay.
And I also feel like our town board are not experts in this field, right? They're relying on
Bill
these
Crowe,
engineers already.
engineer.
So, it seems like it should be, on the engineers and through this state code.
Got it.
And so basically, nobody would ever be able to come for a variance. Again, if we adopt the state
State
code,
code, that's
again,
it.
we can't be any less restrictive.
Right.
So if they're like, oh, well, I want to go 5 feet from the property line, that's an
not a problem.
automatic no, then our town board isn't put in this position of trying to make decisions on something they're not really experts.
Got it.
And I think the only time I ever heard anyone ask any questions and that kind of went back. When the Board of Health was doing, it, I think one time they asked some questions and they came back the next meeting with the answers and it was approved, so.
And that was because there was a resident's concern about the placement, the side
Right.
setback of it down on
And the
South Old Bald Hill Road, yeah.
slope of the hill,
The slope, and they were concerned about runoff to their own properties, but again, the engineer was consulted.
Yep.
The engineer gave his input and the Board of Health accepted that, so.
And with code, as a general rule of thumb, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but variances should be the exception.
Right.
Like, there shouldn't be constant, if you're constantly granting variances for something, that means your code needs to be
Yes.
updated. There shouldn't be a lot of variances being granted, so, and this seems to, we're seeing these on our town board convening as the Board of Health fairly frequently, I
Yeah,
feel like on the
yeah, it
agendas
is.
recently.
And obviously, there could be special circumstance, soil composition in the particular location might call for something different,
but the engineer will,
but the engineer would.
they'll take care of it.
Any other discussion about this whole thing? We don't wanna push it through, but we don't wanna beat it to death either. As long as we could link it to that existing state law.
Right.
And we're all, we don't have any hangups about what the state law is. Then we could make a recommendation. We could make a motion to recommend to the town board or the Board of Health that they adopt whatever that is, New York State Appendix 75A, whatever it is. Well, again, take one of the other towns who already have done that. Cut and paste, and we wouldn't have to actually do it. We would just recommend to the town board that they do that, and then they would go ahead and do that.
So I'll make a resolution that we recommend to the town board. That's similar to the town of Richmond, Bristol, South Bristol, Naples, and West Bloomfield. That the Canadice Town Board adopt the New York State regulations for wastewater 75A. What's it called?
Yeah.
Wastewater treatment standards for residential on-site systems.
Okay, now you said you're making a resolution.
A motion is what he
Just be a
meant.
motion,
Motion,
right?
sorry.
We don't have to have a formal resolution.
No, no.
Okay, a
Make a
motion
motion.
to recommend that we adopt.
But I would mention in there similar to
Similar, and yeah,
Richmond,
should say
Bristol,
it's-
South Bristol, Naples, and West Bloomfield.
who are already doing exactly what we want to move to that.
Then I just have a concrete question, and that's, once we, the board approves that and change it, that this gets updated
Right.
and we get to take this page out.
Take the old one out and put the new one in, yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured.
And there's a whole process, obviously, of how you change our town code, and that's handled by bookkeeper and the town clerk and the town board, so.
Has to go through county
And the
planning
Hagan
board.
County planning has to approve it. And then there's state approval for the code change too.
The attorney always looks it over, all those.
Yeah, the
kinds of-
attorney. But it's, since we're starting basically with existing towns law, other towns law. It should be fairly straightforward. And just the. Appendix 75A wastewater. And
I'll
you have those other,
Second Birch's motion.
get all those towns, we want to make sure that we.
They're
got the
in
town.
Here, I don't think she
Oh,
got a copy. She
Here,
didn't
Yeah.
have
keep
mine.
this, it's on,
Right.
oh,
Yeah, it's on here.
it's on there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but she didn't
Yeah.
get a copy.
Oh, okay,
No, other
keep
side.
that. Okay, we have to keep that. There's a
Second to last
listing.
paragraph. No, second to last paragraph on the front.
Oh, in the front.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we would, in our recommendation, we would include that, but this
The
is,
towns.
and
Right,
list out the town.
Okay.
Because they will then be able to look at it if they want to. Keep that, okay. Back to you. You want this back? Anyone want to look at this appendix? Wow. Thank you, Birch. Oh, we haven't voted yet. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
Thank you. for
So
that,
we'll move it
Bert.
up,
Thank you,
we'll move
Birch.
it up to the town board, and they, as they normally do, will process it over time. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Birch. It's good.
That's great work.
Great work.
Yeah,
And
I
by the
thought it
way,
was very interesting, the discussion. You know, it was, you come to these. We come to these public meetings and normally no one talks
yes.
and everyone talks. Another interesting thing, we have a friend who got a letter from Ontario Soil and Water. Offering I think it's $18,000 to redo their septic because they're within they have an old septic system that's near a water drainage, the Malmadeers.
That, I think
It's near what?
Ontario County Soil and Water are sending out letters. I think they're doing section by section. They have grant funding available. Cause we got a letter too. So it, just because you get a letter doesn't mean you have an old septic. It's just that everybody in your area is eligible. If you do have an old
They
septic,
do have an old.
you can apply for assistance
Right.
with replacing.
Because it's next to a wetland.
Or next to
Or
a
water
water
course.
course, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the exact,
okay.
like who gets chosen and what the limits are.
Hmm.
Um,
How old's your
But
system?
18,000.
it's pretty new.
Put in a new
Oh.
system.
Yeah,
that.
I think they replaced it shortly before we bought the house.
Ours is very.
Yeah, we have a new one for them shortly after we moved
I'm
here.
sure if anybody had questions, just call Ontario County Soil and Water and they'll be able to tell you about it. They said they have gotten quite a few applications already for that program.
Oh, yeah. That's a great environmental effort.
You have to be near a water.
I don't remember all the details.
If you didn't get a letter, then you're not in the zone that they're offering.
That doesn't mean that you're not in the next group of letters that
Oh,
they're
okay.
sending, or I'm not sure exactly how they're determining it.
So again, if you've taken notes, I put chapter 82 and it's chapter 92. We do have a chapter 82, which is sewers as well. Okay, thank you very much. That moves us to the end. Anything that anybody else wants to mention? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Caitlin.
Motion. I'll second it.
And a second. All in favor? Aye, opposed. Thanks. Thanks, everyone, for coming too. It's a good discussion.
Dwight, maybe you should have been the town historian.
Yeah. Yes. I have a different.
That's the way she, that's the way she is in the morning. That's the way. Yeah. Go say hi to Dwight. Kai. Kai, K-I. I'm not crazy about the name, but that's what she came with.
Sweetheart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I.